Welcome to today's episode of the Group X podcast. I'm your host, Tony Zanato. Today I'll be talking to Mid Thomas Savelio, a Les Mills legend from New Zealand. Are you living the life you want? Mid is, and she shares with us her best and worst experiences of her life in the fitness industry. What she hasn't experienced isn't worth experiencing. Wait, what? Did she just call me a whore? Get ready for a massive laugh. Grab your favourite beverage, sit back and enjoy the show. Mid, welcome to the Group X podcast. It's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Thanks for having me.
No, look, you're welcome. I'm so grateful that you said yes when I reached out as well. So I'm looking forward to getting to know you a bit better than what I do, and I'm sure that our listeners are as excited as I am right now as well. So,
Awesome.
Hey, if we can just kick it off right from the beginning, how did you get into the fitness industry? How did you stumble your way into what has been an amazing career for you?
Yeah, gosh, and it was a stumble, and it was 100 years ago. Back at the time.
Yeah.
Look, so this is how it happened for me. I was in a PE class at Rangiora High School in the South Island, which is a little town sort of about 20 minutes out of Christchurch. And the PE teacher was complaining profusely. Actually, I wouldn't say complaining because that sounds terrible, but she was complaining actually. She was moaning about how she had to do these auditions for instructors. And so they were starting a new gym. They were going to have Les Mills at the new gym, and she needed to recruit some instructors. Now, I had been to one crazy, not even a crazy, just one step class when I was about 14. At this stage, I would have been 15, turning 16.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what aerobics was. And
Yep.
this is back in the late 80s,
Yep.
early 90s.
Yep.
And so I said to her, but I've always been a bit of a calculated tiger, and I thought actually I quite like fitness, and I quite like dancing, and I quite like singing, and I think something like this might be a combination of all of those
Yep.
things. And I quite like having a job, and I quite like having a job that might work. And I thought I could train up and be an instructor
Yep.
while I was still at high school, and then when I went to university, that was what my brain thought. Don't ask me, what my childhood was
Yep.
like, 'cause I don't think that's what normal children think. But anyway, I did. And so she said, yeah, sure, you can come along. And she said, we don't normally take people your age.
Yep.
But, feel free to come along. There's no harm. So I rummaged through my baby sister's dress-up box to find something to wear. And this was back in the to be fair, what we were wearing back then sounds awful anyway. So this is when we wore G-string leotards on the outside of our tights.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
undies were on the outside, not on the inside. I don't know how we didn't get.
Fashion was amazing. Fashion was just brilliant back then.
I was thinking more thrush and your tights are on the anyway.
Yep.
So that was the fashion. Sorry, you feel free to edit that.
Not at all. It's staying.
Not. Anyway, so I rummaged through and I found those. You remember those old ballet outfits, and they were squared off at the bottom, and they were squared off here. They were black, and they just did nothing.
They weren't flattering whatsoever.
Even if you had a beautiful body, you still looked a little bit hideous.
Yep.
And I found some tights and some leg warmers. I thought that would do it.
Brilliant.
And, funnily enough, it did. So I went along to this audition, and Maureen Baker was taking it.
Yep.
Would you believe it? Maureen, another woman called Margarita Watani. So she became my first hard school teacher.
Yep.
And they chose me. They said, actually, we will take you. You've got a lot to offer. So, which I didn't really what that was. And so I pretty much started teaching before I left high school.
Yep.
And so by the time I left high school, I was, well on my way to be an instructor. And of course, back then there was no modules. So you didn't, nobody taught you how to do anything.
Yeah.
They just gave you some music, some handwritten notes, sometimes a VHS. And I remember Maureen saying to me, just don't be boring.
Yeah. Yeah, good. Here's the notes, and just don't be boring.
You know, here I am. Here, bring on the clowns. And so, and like a line that sticks in my head is, and she'll probably hate me for saying this, but at the same time, I'm sure she still loves me. She said, if I'm looking at my piece of paper, you have bored me.
How's that for a truth bomb?
You know, so if you ever could, you know how we have performance as one of the 5 key elements.
Yeah.
You know, it was that element.
Yeah.
You know, there was no other elements. Who cares about coaching or anything else? Just let's do this.
If I am looking at my piece of paper, you have bored me.
Yeah.
That is perfect. That's
so that's how I started, and it was then moved to Les Mills, Christchurch, and then left there to come up to Wellington, and left there to go to Auckland, and not for group fitness, but for life. But just taught, and so I'm coming up 30 years. Of teaching.
So you must have started when you were 2 then, yeah?
Oh yeah, exactly. Actually, I think it's. Gosh, I just got my maths wrong. I think it's 32 years, Jingos.
Wow. So you started as soon as you were born, then, is what we're trying to say here.
Yes.
Out of the womb, put on a ballet outfit, and away I went.
Yeah. Get a microphone, or if you, sometimes you didn't have one back in those days, so you just got nodules.
You just got a cassette recorder in the corner of the room and press play.
Totally. Yeah. And look, to be fair, and I always say this story. I wish I could say that I started the fitness industry because I wanted to make a difference and change the world and make everybody, everything amazing. But actually, part of it was because I thought I needed a job, and then I saw Steve Renata on my first video, and I was like, he is so hot. Yeah. I definitely want to be in this industry.
Love it. Yeah.
That's
I got to be honest and say I think there's a lot of females in our industry that are in the same boat as you with that comment. And yeah.
Yeah, you're not wrong there.
I've reached out to Steve, and we are organising a chat. We've just got to tee up times where he's free and I'm free, so we can sit down and do it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to
it. Squash all rumours. Nothing ever happened between Steve and I.
Okay.
We ended up like cousins.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. That's not weird at all. No.
Lucky me. Anyway,
brilliant.
Kidding.
This is the Group X podcast. So Step was the first introduction.
Yes, well, actually, so funnily enough, it was Jazzagetics.
Oh, wow. Okay, yep.
I know, so it wasn't even, there was no body yet in Les Mills. So there was Step New Body, there was Jazzagetics, and I ended up teaching another program called Meltdown, I think, and Slide, some random thing called
Reebok Slide.
The Reebok Slide.
Yeah.
You know, you put those funny slippers on and you went side to side.
I just used to, she called them shower caps. Put a shower cap on your feet. And
pretty much. Pretty much. Pump hadn't even been created. Pump hadn't started. So it was well before those days. And it was basically the options were Step, Jazzagetics or Jazz Aerobics, and the other one was high-low meltdown, or they just called it high-low. BTT, butt, thighs, and tummies. Woo, we're so good with those anagrams. And you know what? The funny thing is, we haven't changed. No, you can still find a gym with a BTT program somewhere.
Yeah, ABT, TTT, to you name it. There's You look on some of the big chains over here in Australia, and you'll find them. You know, tummies, butts, and
everywhere.
thighs, and And the only thing that I believe is probably, this is going to sound so bad, and people hate me from saying this, but who cares? The only thing that's changed is the music.
What has it? Because I think they've just remixed it.
Probably so true. Yeah. Because there's so many remixes of the music from the 80s and 90s coming through at the moment that mate, some of it is brilliant, and I'm grateful that they've done it, because some of the music that's been on the radio lately has been, well, anyway.
Yeah, well, look, I have to be honest, the last RPM that just released, and it's got California Dreaming in there, and it's got I Come From the Land of Under.
Oh, really?
So, I was like, wow. This is the best release ever, guys.
Yeah. See, you're from the same vintage as I. So the music for 80s and 90s is where I love, and little bit into the 2000s. But the
Yeah,
80s,
same.
90s is really... My first cassette was Hits Huge 83 that I remember Mum and Dad
Oh,
bought me for a
wow.
Christmas, either Christmas or my birthday. And I think,
Yeah.
honestly, I'm pretty sure it's still at Mum and Dad's in some case somewhere.
Yeah.
But that was my first intro to music and made me realise, as you and I were chatting before we went live, that music has been a massive part of what we do.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
it's been there. It's what, without music, do you really have group exercise? Well, you can, but
Yeah.
you know that added bit of motivation that's there in the move to music is it's vital. You've got to have it right.
Oh, look. Yeah, and I think this is like as much like in more recent times. I've got a little tiny. I call it a j because it's Nelly a gym.
Yep.
And
The j.
the gym. Hey, go on down to my gym.
Yeah.
What's that? It's a baby gym.
Yeah.
So I've got a little boutique gym that me and my husband set up here where we live, and it's funny because we have to do all of our own stuff because we're just that fraction too close to a Les Mills gym to be able to get the Les Mills license. So I'm gutted, and man, it's not easy to come up. We actually ended up not doing Group X because I couldn't deal with not having Les Mills music because Les Mills music is so awesome.
Yeah.
And I still teach for Les Mills.
I was going to say, look at you still drinking the Kool-Aid after so many years. I love that.
Oh my gosh, I know. I really am. Like I actually I went and took a sprint and RPM module last weekend, funnily enough, and I've got another module this week. I can't believe I'm still taking modules.
Yep.
But I love it. I actually took a break from it for a period.
Yep.
And then, just recently I've sort of got back into it a little bit.
Awesome.
A little bit by choice, a little bit by being asked.
Yep.
And it's amazing. Like, there's just, it's amazing.
I don't think this may sound weird, but I don't think once you ever become part of the family, you can ever leave.
I don't think so. It's just not the same.
We become disciples of the the metaphorical cult that we're part of. That is this is what we do. This is always it. I haven't taught in 5.5 years since we left Canberra. Hip replacement stuff, but also a little person that takes most of my time at the moment. So well, not so little. She's 6.5, but it's more. It's always still part of me. I said, music's in the car. You're always listening to it. I'm always talking to people, especially with body bike stuff or now this podcast stuff as well. It's part of it. Runs thick in my veins, and I think it's always going to be there. But it's so when you take a step back and remove you from that situation and realize how powerful it is and what we're doing and what we're able to help people with worldwide. Yeah,
it's pretty. It's amazing. Like So a good friend of mine, and the only reason I laugh is because I call her my best friend, and she calls me her best friend. But if other people come along, they're like, "I thought I was your best friend."
Yep.
And I recently, I do some contract work for government here in New Zealand. Oh gosh, did I say that out loud? No, it's amazing. Anyway, I have this, the person who I report to, she's amazing. And she was telling my friend, Mandy, about me. She goes, "Oh, and she's my new best friend." And Mandy's like, "She's my best friend." But Mandy Jones, who she's now one of the, a regular DVD presenter for RPM. And she just got to experience her first overseas one live at in New Orleans.
Brilliant.
And I remember she texted me. She goes, "Oh my gosh, I just cannot believe." In New Zealand, we're quite insular.
Yep.
We don't until we get out of New Zealand and actually see how big Les Mills is.
Yeah.
We actually don't get a full appreciation of the impact that we have on people's lives. And so, and it is a little bit that moment, that surreal moment. And she goes, I met it. I can't believe it. And I said, I know you kind of get it, right? You get why we do what we do.
Yep.
And it's definitely not for the fame and fortune.
Yep.
Anybody in the fitness industry knows that.
Yeah. We don't do it for the money, and we don't do it for the fame and fortune. I think those that think they're doing it for money realize very quickly, oh no, hang on, that doesn't work.
Oh no.
And also
wrong industry.
the fame and fortune, those guys are like a moth to a light. They only hang around for a little bit and
totally.
Then they're out, because it's like, oh, that wasn't what I thought it was. It's it's not. And I think not so much they thought it was what it was, or it's not that.
It really is.
The industry won't put up with show ponies. they just, we won't. We win them out very, very quick.
And because, like it's about the opportunity to inspire and influence others
Yeah.
to make better choices in their lives. And I think one of the things that I'm constantly reminded of in my own life is the challenges we face with our bodies, right? Like we've been in the fitness industry, and then as I'm pretty confident I'm perimenopausal. Yay,
Yep.
woohoo.
Yep.
Thank you, Tracy Minnick,
Yes.
for your book and your,
Yep.
what is
For
her
addressing it and bringing it up.
sexy aging, I think is her
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shivers, I wasn't even sexy when I was younger. I don't know how I'm going to do that as I'm aging.
No, I'll say to you right now, I disagree with you on that one completely.
Oh,
right?
look,
We'll leave
thank
that
you. So I think we become more aware of ourselves and our need to look after ourselves a little more. But when you work with your clients, you realize they actually have no idea. This is what we've done our whole lives, is exercise. We don't know any different. If I wasn't to exercise for a week, I just would feel weird.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be right. Whereas for 99.9% of humanity, it feels weird to exercise.
Yeah.
So when we can make it fun and exciting and something that they can fall in love with, man, that changes their lives forever, right?
Doesn't it what? Yeah. I'm struggling at the moment because I had a hip replacement in February last year, and I need the other one done at the end of this year. So the pain level at the moment is like an 11 out of 10, and I'm frustrated as all that I can't, even walking up the stairs from downstairs where the studio is to upstairs at home, there's 18 stairs, and that takes a good 5 minutes because my body just goes, dude, get this done now. Hurry up. We need it done. And the itch to train, the body bike's out in the garage, the pump set's out in the garage as well, the step, the whole lot. It's there for when I know I'm going to be able to get back into it. But I tried on the bike the other night and got 2.5 minutes, and I was like, dude, stop. There's not enough drugs in the world to mask that pain, so just get the head right. When you can get back in, you'll get back in.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Well, look, I went through that probably early 40s. I have really bad knees from a netball injury. So I had a full knee reconstruction when I was like 14. Which is ridiculous. Yeah, pretty. And so they actually said I'd never play sport again. So I'm just really grateful that I had a full career in the fitness industry.
Hell yeah.
So I'm pretty, I was always, it was kind of because I thought I couldn't do anything, and sport was my life, netball, you name it. I loved it. And so when I could, and I did, I did whatever I could to keep going for as long as I could.
Yeah.
But it meant that my knees, by the time I was 40, they fully osteoarthritic, can't do anything about it. The only thing that will fix it is a knee replacement, which, we question whether or not that's a good thing anyway, right?
Yeah.
So I had to give up Body Attack, and, Body Attack was my love, man. That program, I'd always say it, and I actually meant it. If it was a man, I'd marry it.
Yep.
I just loved it that much.
Yeah.
So to give that up was huge. And I knew I had to. But when I gave it up, the funny thing about it was I had no idea the impact it was going to have on my body.
Yep.
Because I'd literally gone from training pretty hard to not.
Yes.
Over a 12-month period, and I got, to be really honest with you, really overweight, which I'd never been in my life, and it was a really challenging time for me to lose control of my body because I'd done this amount of exercise for a long time, and you'll be going through that at the moment, my friend, right?
I hear everything you said. Just then made me realise that, and I weighed myself the other day and went, holy shit, fatty, you are as much as you weighed before you jumped into the industry back in 2003. Yeah. And it's mentally a challenge, but I also know that I have the skill set to, when this is done and I'm done through my rehab and I'm ready to rock, I know it'll come off because I know I've got that motivation to go and do it. It's just, it's not the lack of motivation at the moment, it's the influx of pain. And I think having that mindset, cool, I'm going to be able to do this. But as you said, a lot of our participants, oh shit, I've done pump for the first time. I'm not coming back for a month because what was that? I ain't doing it, or I've done RPM and geez, my bits are, that's,
Totally.
It's that gradual, even if you did one class a week, cool. Start it, then move into 2 or whatever it may be. It's like the couch to 5K thing that's out there. You walk from or run from this telegraph pole to that one, and then walk another 7, and then run one, and it's that gradual thing that you get there. eventually.
I think, yeah, and I think that's something that, I remember, and actually, Bevan James Eyles, who wrote
Yes.
his book,
Yep.
he's written a couple of books now, and we had this conversation actually, and it was actually, I'm pretty sure, I know it was in Orlando, that's right, and I said, we're not winning, Bevy, we're not. We are losing the battle in the fitness
Yeah.
industry.
Yep.
Every single statistic tells us that we are not winning. We're here, we're fit, we're healthy, we're loving it, we're living this outrageous life, and we are the weird ones.
Yep.
We're less than 1%
Yeah.
typically.
Yep.
And so it was really fascinating. And even with my little my gym, um, that's what's been really powerful for me
Yep.
recently. I've ended up teaching yoga,
Yep.
which I would never,
Yeah.
I was hyperactive girl.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Can you
People
teach yoga like that? Can you? Is it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you will get into that down dog.
Oh, that is awesome.
You too?
Yes.
What, you don't want to stay here for 7 minutes?
Tree pose now. Okay.
Yeah. You will find your balance. Yeah, no,
Oh,
I think,
I'm flying over. I'm coming to a class. This is
look,
brilliant.
to be fair, that would
Yeah.
be pretty funny. No, so I started teaching about a year ago, and that brought me back to body balance. And
Yep.
what's really fascinating is my body loves it. And
Yep.
so
Yep.
and again, my body is feeling good, and I'm feeling good, and we just exercise is medicine, right?
Yeah.
But in the gym, I've been able to, I guess, have most of the people that actually join the gym that I have down here are people that have never ever liked exercise before. So
Yep.
we've really gone out of our way to understand how to help them. And thank you to Les Mills for all of their research around,
Yeah.
it's not about intensity, it's about frequency. And so for some of the guys that I work with, like one guy at the moment, he has pins in his knees,
Yep.
and he just will always be sore. Like
Yep.
there's no way around it for him, because the way that the surgery went, the only thing that they can do is either remove the pins, which they might not even be able to do it if they go
Yeah.
into reoperate. So
Yep.
he's in pain. He can't kneel without being in pain. So, for me, I'm like, even if you and I just walk in this gym together for at least one of the 3 times I'd love you to come a week,
Yep.
that's a win.
Yeah. Beautiful.
We had another, yeah. So I think, there's definitely opportunities in that space. In group fitness, we definitely could, in the high intensity space, we could work better at helping people through
Yeah.
those moments,
Yeah.
at the beginning.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, we still love getting in there and going.
We do. We do. We do.
Yeah.
This is the Group X podcast. Hey, how did the opportunity come up for you to be on masterclass filming? How did that arrive?
Yeah, interesting. Well, I was a training manager at the time, so when you say that, you're like, oh, so you put yourself forward. No, I'm kidding.
No, I can edit that bit out. It's okay.
Yeah. No, please don't. No, actually, what happened was, funnily enough, I actually said no for a couple of times. To Jackie had wanted me. I became the national training manager and for Les Mills New Zealand. And at the time, we had this incredibly talented team. It was the Sarah Robinsons, the
Yep.
Dr. Daves, the Chris Richardsons, the kind of the OGs, off the back of the Steve Renatas and the
Yep.
Emma Barrys.
Yep.
Susan Renata was traveling the world. And so we had this amazing team of incredible talent. And, I walked in there going, man, am I good enough to lead this team? Like that was my thinking.
Wow.
Because
Yeah.
they were so good,
Yep. Yep.
And I hadn't been on a masterclass. I hadn't been a presenter. I'd actually taken myself away from that world because I went out to a little town in Pukekohe and ended up running a gym there and becoming a shareholder. So I left
Yep.
Les Mills sort of, but not. I still taught Les Mills as a licensee,
Yes.
but I actually pulled out of any national work.
Yep.
Because I wanted to focus on the gym.
Yep.
And grow that. And so I did that, and like I said, became a shareholder of that gym, which gave me a whole bunch of skills that were really
Yeah.
helpful in the national training manager space.
Yep.
Um, and so I thought to myself, actually, my job here is to, it's kind of like bringing together the most talented humans that you know and trying to get them to work together as one, but also try, because it is an individual sport
Yep.
for the most
Yeah.
part, right?
Yep.
You're on that stage alone, and then to be on the master classes, you have to be the best of the best, right?
Yep.
Like that's because essentially that's what we're saying greatness looks like,
Yeah.
especially back then.
Yep.
You'd have to make it through your national, you'd have to make it through your regional side to be, and overseas it's even harder because you've got to. Well, it's hard in all ways differently, but you'd have to become a trainer first before you became a presenter. Then you'd have to get onto that top team. Then you'd have to be the one of the ones that maybe got put forward,
Yep.
and then Les Mills International would make their choices
Yep.
around who they wanted on
Mm.
that for that filming period. And that was no different for New Zealand. We had the same process.
Yep.
Everyone applied to be on the national squad, and then from there. So I actually made a decision not to be on filming for I think the first at least 2 or 3 years
Okay.
of my national
Your
training
national training
manager
manager role.
role.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I just thought to myself, how can I get a team to come together and trust me if I'm competing for the spots that they so desperately want?
I love hearing that.
And
I
and that's
That's
yeah,
music to my ears.
yeah.
And I chatted to Matt Thraxton about this just the other week when I interviewed him. Yeah, I'll just take a moment here, but I've got chills in you saying it, and I'm not saying that to try and be corny in any way, but a training manager's role is to have a team, as you've just said, of people that are there that you hold up and help them shine. They're not there to make you
Absolutely.
shine. They are so not there to make you shine. Your job, as what you just nailed and said, and I so respect you for saying it, is the team that you had, you were to develop them and put them forward for that opportunity. Thank you for being real, and thank you for being so honest and down to earth with that, because it's vital for instructors, I think, everywhere to hear that a person in that position that you're in, you were given an opportunity as well, and your time was right when you took it, but the main purpose of your role was to have those guys shine, and that's how you shine, by making them shine.
Well, and the thing about it was I didn't have baby instructors on the team because I had this amazing talented team. Who was I? The Ben Ciolos of the world hadn't even been chosen for the team at this point. So it was like what we see as stars now. And so so that for me felt really right. And what that meant was we had a great team. We talked about legacy. We asked ourselves, how do we bring the next generation through? We didn't see ourselves, and I always I always use this as an example. I said, guys, we have a choice as top leaders in the fitness industry. We can either be the most amazing presenter today. And we can, we can choose to, make ourselves incredible. Or we can do that and then share our knowledge with others with the understanding that they will be better than us. So we actually try and make the next generation better than what we were, because they can take what we did and our lessons and then build on it. But to do that means, when you are at that level, that you have to let go of a little ego. You have to actually say, you have to want that person, genuinely want that person to be amazing and be better than you. And I would always say to people that I ever worked with, please don't thank me by saying, thank you, Mid, for training me. Thank me by being amazing. And then if you get through, thank me by being better than me. And so, and I said to my trainers, I said, because here's the thing, people will talk about you forever if you train others. But if you only think of yourself as being a superstar, and that's okay, that, hey, our heart, whatever you want to do is fine, but you will only be remembered in your time. And you'll only be remembered during that period that you're on that DVD. And that's it. Because in 3 months from now, another beautiful rock star will come through and say something a little bit cooler than you said last round. And then another 3 months, and it doesn't take long to date in the Les Mills world, right? You know, 1 year out, and all of a sudden, when we pretty much, I think now people say, are you Minnell's mum? I'm like, no,
Yeah,
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 fine, I am.
yeah.
Yes, I am. Whatever. And
Oh, I
so,
love it.
yeah, so it definitely, and I guess for me, because I had been in the industry for so long as a baby, and I'd watched
Yep.
the greats come through, and there were some amazing presenters that you will never see because we didn't have what we
Yeah.
have back in VHS
Yep.
days. Um, but there's some amazing presenters, but the ones that people still talk about in my generation
Yep.
are the ones that helped other
Yeah.
instructors be great today.
So true.
So
So true.
it's a legacy, right?
Yeah.
It's a choice to be a rock star or to be a legend.
Yeah.
And I think that team, we still, I still see Chris Richardson
Yep.
ripping up the place. I still see Sarah Robinson doing what she
Yeah.
does best, which is helping group footies be amazing. Yeah, it was just an incredible time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yep.
So
How
I
many?
did get on there eventually.
Yeah. Yep.
And,
What?
and look, the reason behind that is because I realized, because I hadn't been on a masterclass and I had this team, I actually felt like I was an imposter.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That.
I realized that actually, to begin with, my reasons were right for not being
Yeah.
on the masterclass, and they
Yep.
were absolutely. But eventually, I realized I was actually just playing small, and I wasn't playing into my strengths.
Yeah.
And so that's when I said yes. But to be fair, I still never loved masterclasses. I always shit myself before them. Um,
Excellent. That's the raw.
yeah.
That was what I was about to ask you. Was like,
Oh,
so tell me about that. Tell me, yeah, how was
oh.
it 5 minutes before? Were you shitting yourself?
Yeah, look, I definitely, my strengths are, take me to a quarterly workshop. I'll blow the place up. I'll
Yep.
make everyone fall in love with fitness, and I'll be the hostess with the mostess.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I'll fall in love with you. You'll fall in love with me. It
Yep.
it will be amazing. And put me on a stage with 2,000 people. Put me in front of a camera and
Yeah. The deer in headlights. It's yes. It's
yeah,
real.
I really was a bit of a choker.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't say that comment. But so it was never like, I think I did a good job when I was
Yep.
on the master classes. I wouldn't say, I definitely loved the lead up. I love learning about my craft. I
Yep.
loved the fact that we had 40 hours
Yep.
to just focus on one or two tracks and to unpack it and
Yeah.
unravel it
Yep.
and think about how we're going to deliver um, the purpose of
Yep.
what that track is, as choreographed by the program director, and how do we bring their vision to life
Yeah.
in a way that's authentic to us. So I think as an instructor I learnt so much,
Yep.
but actually for the most part most of my career was spent coaching
Okay. Yep.
the masterclass
That's our trainers.
presenters more so
Yeah.
than being on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just on that, on how many masterclasses were you on? Total, how many did
I
you
was
get an
on
opportunity to do?
body attack and a couple of body attacks, body pump, body vibe. Gosh, I don't even talk about body vibe these days. Those were the three that I taught in,
Yep.
and
Yep.
so, and I think I did about three pumps and a couple of
Yep.
attacks and a few body vibes.
Is there one that
It,
stands out as a memorable than any of the others? Filming, I mean.
you know what? The funniest thing is probably um one of my favorite experiences was, and I wasn't even teaching.
Yeah.
Funny that. So that's why it's my favorite. Because the conundrum with me is, even though I come across as a massive extrovert, I'm actually quite introverted by nature. So I know people are like, I did a test, I can prove it,
For,
I can prove it, bro, I can
for
prove
those
it.
for those playing along at home, my facial might have just given it away. Then for me, it was like,
Yeah.
say what now? Who? What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, so but because I'd done drama school and
Yeah.
acting and all of those things, and I do love being on stage. I love performing. I
Yeah.
love people.
Yep.
And I love exercise. So that's why masterclass filming was actually quite a big thing for me.
Yep.
So my favorite one was actually doing is working with Maddie T
Yep.
and Will Pritchard when we were me and Will were shadowing, I think. Um, so we had one release where we did it, where we taught together. I think it was 80 or something. There's me, Will, and Maddie, and Les Mills Jr. and Glenn.
Yep.
So there was the five of us. Um, that we were all teaching in that one, and that was probably my favorite.
Yep.
I love Maddie Thraxon and Will. They're my brothers.
Yeah.
I have so much time for them, and we had such a great era together,
Yep.
and it was
Yep.
so great to hang out with Les Mills Jr. I love Glenn as well because Glenn and I actually go right back to Christchurch. So
Oh wow.
I knew Glenn
Yep.
before he was even allowed to teach.
Yep.
So he would sneak into my classes and teach, and I was like, and because I was a kid, I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
sure,
Sure.
you
Yeah.
do whatever you want
Yeah.
because you're a grown up, and I'm just and I'm a child.
He's only a couple of years older than us, isn't he? He's not.
Yeah,
He's not.
I would have been like
Yep.
18, and he would have been probably 22,
Yeah. It's
23,
gonna say
something
early
like that.
20s. Yeah.
So,
Yep.
and Maureen didn't, and he quite publicly talks about this. Maureen didn't want him to be an instructor, didn't think that he had what it took. So he would sneak into my 6 o'clock class and say, "Can I teach with you?" I'm like,
Sure.
"There's no cameras back in those days." So I love Glenn.
Yep.
He's just a great guy. Um, so I had all these guys that I just adored, and of course I got to hang out with Les Mills Jr., who I discovered is a really nice guy.
Yep.
So that was probably my favorite release,
Yep.
and then prior to that was when we shadowed with Emma Barry and Susan Renata, and me and Will
Yep.
shadowed that, and me and Will both decided that Susan and Emma were the scariest females alive, and we never want to teach with them because they will eat you alive on stage. And I remember Will turned around to me and he goes, "Never put me on a presentation stage with those two." They were awesome, phenomenal instructor. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was my moment, I guess, in
Yep.
that space.
This is the Group X podcast. What preps do you do before filming, or what preparation did you do before filming? And when I say that, I mean, anytime when I was working for Les Mills, doing stuff with him, anytime I'd present, I'd listen to Breathe by The Prodigy, which I've mentioned a couple of times on the show. Just my way of getting into a track and just clearing my head and just sitting there for a couple of minutes and going, yep. And then I've got the energy to walk out and go, right, let's get on with it. Do you have are there special undies you wear? Are there, there's special socks? Is it something like that?
Look, funny you should say that. I'm gonna go a little bit deep on this one, brother. So Aroha Mai, from thrush to deep. Okay, so all in one. Sorry, Aroha Mai whānau. In New Zealand, Aroha Mai is sorry in Māori and Te Reo. So I have a really strong connection to my tupunas, and we call that's ancestor here in New Zealand, and with particular reference to my ancestor Tohu Kākahi, who in 1881 stood beside Te Whiri, and during the land wars here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, they were the only ones that had a passive resistance movement. And when you hear the story of Parihaka, and I imagine my great koro, however many it is, standing there and looking at 1,600 troops ready to rage war on his family, and his children are the first line of defense, and his wahine, his women, are the second line of defense. I think I don't even know what that I don't even know what kind of courage or bravery it must, or what resolute decision you would have to have within you to do that. And so I really struggled with masterclass filming. It wasn't something that I loved, but at the same time I also knew that I had some gifts around, some talents, and I wasn't fulfilling them, is the truth of the matter, because I was scared. It wasn't about anyone else. It was my fear of my brilliance. And I love that aim to training, and that really exposed that for me, to be honest. And so I will always, just before I go on stage to film, I will always ask my ancestors to be with me, and to give me even just a remote amount of their courage and strength to be what it is that I need to be for the world. And so I live by the ethos that I am always where I'm meant to be.
Yeah.
And so if I was very privileged in the gifts that I got from, whether you think it's God or Atua. He made me physically able to do some really cool stuff. He gave me amazing charisma and presence, and he gave me the ability to stand in front of people and people follow, or people listen. And when I realized that I had the power to influence and to make change in the world, I just chose to be an instrument of whatever it is that they choose me to do at any given time. And so that's my best filmings are when I'm in that moment. And I don't think that I'm there as mid.
Yep.
I think I'm there speaking
Yeah.
on behalf of the ancestors and the heritage and the whakapapa, which is the lineage of those who've gone before, you know?
Thank
So,
you.
yeah.
Seriously, thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
That's I know that's a vulnerable thing to share as well, but hey, I can see the emotion in you at the moment with around that, and thank you, seriously, thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. It's my truth, and and right now the same thing has happened. I'm in a place with, I'm still teaching Les Mills because
yep,
I owe my life to Les Mills
yep,
New Zealand, or Les Mills International, Les Mills
yeah,
just generally
yep,
speaking. I've had this amazing career, but more importantly, I was quite a broken kid,
yep.
and they helped me to be the woman I am today. So I am forever indebted
Love
to
that.
Les Mills. Yeah.
Yeah,
And so which is why they'll which is why they'll have to say to me, Mid, you have no teeth and your knees are larger than your hips. So we'd really like you to stop teaching now.
the Zimmer frame needs to be off the stage.
You actually need two legs,
Yeah.
Mid, to ride a bike. And so,
Oh,
yeah, so
love it.
I will, always be here. And so I'm still teaching,
Yep,
but in recent times I've been drawn back into my Māoritanga and into Te Ao Māori, and the journey that I'm on there is and the mahi that I'm doing is something that really means a lot to me. So I
yep.
absolutely know that I'm where I'm meant to be in the world, but I could not have done the job that I'm doing right now had it not
Had it
been for
not
Les
been.
Mills again.
Yeah,
It's a learning and development role within government,
yep,
and without all of the amazing stuff that we do,
yep,
like when you understand how Les Mills puts things together, you just kind of go, wow. And so being able to bring that thinking into a Te Ao Māori space to
yeah,
create learning pathways,
yep,
is just, yeah. So I have so much to be grateful for,
yeah,
and I honor Les Mills for what it's
yeah,
brought into my life. And now my son's in it, and I'm like,
yeah,
well, clearly I am going to be
yeah,
a grandmother
yeah.
in this world. I'm going to be here forever.
I want to ask you about what you're currently doing as well, but if we can, I'll come back to that in a minute.
Mhm.
With relation to when you're working for Les Mills, now, my understanding is Les Mills International and Les Mills in New Zealand are two separate
Yes, two separate
ships.
entities.
Yeah, two separate
Yeah.
entities as such. So when you were working for Les Mills in the role of trainer manager, that was Les Mills International?
Les Mills New Zealand.
Les Mills New Zealand. Okay,
Yes.
cool.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
which club were you at during that time? Where were you based?
So I taught all over the place, actually, to be honest. So
Okay.
I probably taught at Les Mills Auckland City.
Yep.
Taught a couple of classes at Tekapuna, New Lynn over the period. And I still lived in Pukekohe, so I still taught at a little licensee club, or Counties Fitness. So one of the things that I've always believed in, to be a great instructor, you need to, I knew I needed to teach at the big gyms, at
Yep.
the, like with the big, 100 people, big
Yes.
stages,
Yep.
big moments. But actually, to really craft my ability to connect authentically, I needed to teach at a licensee club. So I'd always taught at a licensee club and a big club. I'd
Yep.
never just taught at a big club,
Yeah.
because I recognized the difference. Like if you have to be so real
Yeah.
in a licensee club. Whereas
Yep.
in the bigger club, you can be like, da, 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 I'm a
Yep.
superhero,
Yep.
and we're going to rip it up today.
I
And,
just saw the cape
like
as you were flying along then. I saw the cape.
yeah. Hello and welcome to my body attack class. So whereas if you did that in a licensee club, they'd probably walk out. 'Cause
Yeah.
they
Be
think
like, what are you
you're
doing? You twat.
Ooh.
Like, get off.
and it's interesting, they don't care about bracing your core.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't care about the postural cues.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I always taught at both. So
Yep.
when I was a national training manager, I was at all of those
Yeah.
clubs. I probably taught way too much, to be brutally honest with you.
Yep.
I think at one point I had about 16 classes on top of that, a full-time job on
Oh,
top of
wow.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I've always done a lot,
Yeah.
which my knees thank me for now. Not.
Yeah. Love it. Hey,
Of course.
what's your why? What's your why for teaching?
Oh, why? Yeah, cool. Great question, and one I can answer easily. My why is people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, it is that simple.
Yeah. Look, and that's
Um,
I love that because
yeah.
it's something that doesn't need a further explanation.
Nah. Yeah.
It's I yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that too because everyone
Yeah.
has a different why, but we sort of lead it back
Yeah.
into that. But it's
Yeah.
that's the best explanation I can honestly say I've had so far with the 20-something episodes that I've punched out, 30, whatever it is. I'm not sure where I'm at now. But
Yeah.
I'm going to say that's the best honest, down to earth answer I've had yet because it's about the
Yeah.
people.
Look, I wouldn't be still teaching if it was anything
Yeah.
else. 32 years later, and I still rock. This morning I rocked up at 6 a.m. to a sprint class. Tomorrow I've got a 7 a.m. sprint class, 5 p.m. RPM class on Sunday, and
Yep.
every time I teach those classes, I freaking love it.
Yeah.
Because I'm with the people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just if my why was anything else,
Yep.
I wouldn't still be teaching.
Yep.
That's the truth.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, you also mentioned earlier on that you do training modules as well. You're a module trainer
Yeah.
at the moment. How many of them are you doing? How often does that happen in New Zealand? I mean, over here in Australia, it's almost every weekend or every second weekend. They're happening so
Yeah.
often. We're punching them out. Is it the same demand in NZ at the moment?
No. So New Zealand has always been a very different market to anywhere else in the world. So if you can imagine it, you've got two dynamics that you don't have overseas. So you've got Les Mills clubs and you've got Les Mills licensees. Whereas overseas, there's only the licensees.
Licensees, yeah.
So there's a different market. There isn't the same growth focus in the licensee world. So
Okay.
definitely there's a service.
Yep.
But it wouldn't be. I know it across other agencies. You've got a sales team that's always pushing
Yes.
to get more
Yeah.
licensees, and I teach business.
Yep.
I know sales is king,
Yep.
right? And you're
Yep.
a GM, so I'm sure you know your sales numbers
Yep.
every day.
Yep.
You're in there. You're like, how many of those bikes have we sold
Yes.
today, Fano? Yep.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yep.
How many memberships have we sold today? So we've got these two dynamics. Therefore, people actually become presenters before they become trainers.
Yeah.
It's easier to be a presenter in New Zealand than it is to be a trainer in New Zealand
Okay.
because we don't have enough.
Yep.
But the challenge that Ben, I always come in when I've always said to Les Mills, I've said to Jackie, I've said to Carla, Ben, I've said, whenever you need me, I'll always say yes.
Yep.
I will always say yes. So at the moment, I've done. They probably have. They won't have the same amount as you guys by
Yep.
no means.
Yep.
But it's a busy month if there's a couple of modules on,
Yep.
two
Yep.
on a weekend. That's a busy month
Yep.
in New Zealand, a busy weekend. And I think I've got one. I had one last weekend, one this weekend, and then I think I've got another one in November.
Okay. And where
Yeah, so
where are the trainings done at? Are they in the clubs or are they in licensees premises?
both. Yeah,
Okay.
both. So, yep. So, there's also Les Mills has also created this beautiful space to do modules out of, like
Oh,
it's
cool.
been made for modules. So
Yeah.
it's beautiful, and I
Yep.
actually got to work out of there last weekend, which was fabulous. And then this weekend we'll be working out of Les Mills Hut City. So,
Yeah. So
which is awesome.
that space you're referring to then is just purpose for training only. So there's no
Modules.
interruption of
Yeah.
classes coming through or the public being able to sticky beak in and all
Yeah.
that. Wow.
Or
Wouldn't that be
managing
nice?
the timetable to
Yeah.
can we have the master? Nope, we can't have the master class. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, we'll have the master class at that time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all of that sort of stuff that you would need to normally have to
Yeah.
manage, you don't have to, which
Yeah.
is amazing.
That was where I was at Fitness First North Sydney back in 2003 to 2012, I think it was. Anyway, something like that. Doesn't really matter. the club was shut on weekends, and
Yeah.
I'd been in touch with the guys at Les Mills, and we started doing training there on weekends because I lived locally. I was able to get in there and open up, get in the afternoon and lock it down. But there was no one else. It wasn't open to the public, so they had the entire gym to themselves to do training every weekend and be not interrupted, have the showers, have the AC, have everything they needed to. And it was just the trainers ringing me at the end of the day going, dude, we'll be finished in 20 minutes. Can you be? Sure. Yeah. Come down, lock up, and it works.
Yeah.
It's so much nicer.
It really does.
So much nicer
It's
and
just
easier when you're not having to schedule, all right, we've got to pick up everything out of this studio and we're going to go over to the yoga studio and it's smaller, but we're going to sit in there for the next 2 hours to do whatever we've got to do. And then we'll come back over here and, make sure you put all that stuff back that you've just sat on because there's a class coming in there in half an hour. And
totally.
that juggling effect is, a challenge as well.
It is a challenge. And I think that, I think, I take my hat off to the module trainers around the world. I did a stint in the States, did a bunch of AIM2 modules over there, which was amazing. And AIM1s actually. And they, module trainers work so hard, man. Like people don't, it looks like quite a glorious, fun game, but it's on the road. It's hard work. You are completely giving of yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally, week after week, day. It's a big job, right? So at the same time, I didn't know if I would love it, but I do.
Yep.
Because there was a period. I remember Tracy Minnick. She's hilarious. So she'd been, we all did modules, right? So Tracy, Minnick is world famous for so many things, right? And I remember her saying, you've got to get out when you're going around in that final moment where everyone tells you how much their life has been transformed because of these last 2 days or 3 days, and you're thinking, I just wish you would hurry up.
That's when you know it's time to step aside and go.
That's when you know it's time to step aside from module training. And I got to that point, to be brutally honest with you, probably about 5, maybe 6 years ago. I just done enough, and so I had said, I want to step down. And Amy said, please stay. Amy was training manager at the time, Amy Stiles. She said, please stay just for a little bit longer, Mitty. And I said, okay. You sure? You got some young ones coming through. But of course, off the back of COVID, Ben Seal was having to rebuild his team again. So so he said, would you do a couple? I'm like, of course, love to.
No, I like that realization that you had though, and that I think a lot of people need to realize there's a time to take off the shoes.
Yeah, definitely.
And step aside and go, you know what, cool. I've ticked the boxes that I needed to. If it's starting to shit you, then stop, look to do something else. And even if it is, step away from it for a little bit before you re-step back in and maybe look at stepping in at a different angle or however that may be. I think that's really vital for your own longevity, but also for the people that are in front of you. You don't want them to be having a bad experience because you've had a gutty.
Look, and module is where we turn. I was going to say where we turn people like we were like vampires.
You will.
You will be the same. But that's when they fall in love with this amazing product. And so I really take that responsibility of being the voice piece for Les Mills. And it's such an amazing moment. Being a trainee. So
This is the Group X podcast. The thing I love chatting to people about at the moment is the evolution of the programs. I remember when I first started in 2003, it was VHS. Yes, it was CD. There wasn't tapes when I started. It was CDs. It wasn't tapes.
Oh, well, I had tapes.
Yeah. you know Shannon Cleary, from Sydney?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so I remember I was living in the flat above Shannon, and we got along like a housewife. I still do. I haven't seen her in a couple of years though, but she's that type of personality that was just like you. Yep. I think you guys could be sisters, to be completely honest. Chatting to you now, I'm talking to you thinking, wow, I feel like I'm chatting to Shannon when I say that. And I mean that with respect for both of you, yeah? But Shannon just had that personality that would show me what to do in this industry. She found me from the second row in the bike and said, you, get up here. I think, you've got something in there. But watching some of the early release stuff with her where it was just one camera in the back of the room.
Totally,
And then I remember seeing some attack stuff and I was like, why is that back to front? Why is that? What the Les Mills sign? Shan, what's going on there? Why are they even their shirts is back to front? She's like, it had to be flipped, and I was like, huh. Righto, but seeing the evolution from that to the massive big stage and the performance, and then moving into virtual and the way that presenting is being done, everything has evolved, and it's needed to, obviously, because it has to stay relevant and had to move through what it's doing. But it's so nice to see that in itself and what we've been through as an industry, and also with the Group X space to be part of it as well, even though, as I said, I'm not teaching now, but still seeing it.
Yeah. Look, I'm still in awe of what Les Mills does. You know, we we are literally, look, it's like anything, right? It's like if you get the same lollies every 3 months, you kind of go, oh, the lollies last month were better than this month, you know? Oh, you know what? I had the orange ones yesterday, and now you're giving me the red ones.
Yeah. I want the orange ones back.
we get a bit entitled around as instructors. Oh no, this release isn't as good as the last one.
Yep.
You know, we've been doing this for 100 years.
Yep.
But the reality is, when you actually get out of the Les Mills system and you see what else is out there, or you see how hard it is for freestyle instructors to have to come up with their own music, their own choreography, their own, you know, they have to do everything that this massive organization is doing, and it's a full-on broadcasting production. I went and watched the last filming here in with Menor, and you know, we love to support our son, and it was his first time filming combat, so we thought, oh, we'll go up. It is official, Dad is not allowed to come anymore.
Can you share why?
Oh my gosh, he's the grumpiest old man in the world. So like, he still hasn't said, I'm proud of you.
Yep.
To me, like, he's very, you know, he's very old school.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'll give you an example, because he loves training. So the first filming that Menor ever did, he trained Menor. It's never happened again. I walked into him hitting Menor's stomach, going, look at that fat, look at that fat. Like, you know, like he watches Rocky, you know. That's
totally.
Yes.
Yeah,
I know. And please don't get me wrong, my husband trains the way he trains others, so he is a beast in that space. But yeah, we went there, and middle filmed combat, and then the jam was the next day. And so he only taught a couple of tracks at the beginning, and then he was shadowing. Anyway, so, and of course, because of the way they film now, you know, you don't they're not on full tracks, and it's so it's completely different to when I was there, right? And you're teaching to them anyway. There's no audience, etc., etc. And so he teaches his couple of tracks, and then he's shadowing, and he's having a great time. And he comes off back to us where we are, and he comes over, and my husband goes, you know, in the middle of filming, like, it's not already nerve-wracking enough, right? In the middle of filming, he goes, just don't fucking forget that you've got a job to do.
Thanks, Dad. Yep.
So my poor son just goes, yep, and walks away. Now, thankfully, he's used to it. Me and my husband walking out, and I said, oh, Menor needs to bring the joy back. So, you know, because like, my husband says that, but it's when I watch, I also am critiquing. So I try really hard to not to bring that out slowly. I said, oh, he needs to find the love. Or, you know, he needs a bit more spark. Anyway, and Peter goes, I think I shouldn't be there. And I went, no, I don't think you should be there. He goes, I don't think I should ever go to a filming again. I said, I'd really appreciate
self-realization. Hey, it's a good thing when you realize that, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Maybe I'm not bringing joy to my son's life. But, you know, when you see the evolution of it, like, you can't be anything less than proud. And look, to be fair, if I take it back 32 years, the VHS and the cassettes were the best that we had. And then I remember mini discs, and then we went from mini discs to CDs, and then we went from CDs to, gosh, what was the first? What was it? An Apple Shuffle or something.
Oh yeah,
iPod Shuffle.
the iPod,
the iPod Shuffle. And then we had one of those, and that was like amazing,
Yeah.
and we could fit a few more songs on it. I mean, I still remember. Oh, this is so bad, and like, I feel terrible when I say it, but, you know, because there were still songs that you didn't like when you had a VH or when you had a cassette,
Yeah.
but you just had to fast forward
Fast
it.
forward. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey guys, just 2 seconds while I fast
Yeah.
forward this song. Oh, go on, just run on the spot while I'm fast forwarding to the
Yep.
song I like.
Yep.
So
It was unless you had the double cassette tape and then you're able to actually, make your own mix.
that was magic.
That was
That was magic. Or then and then of course you always had to turn the cassette over to the other side. So halfway through, So if we think about that, and that was technology then, through to what we have today. Bluetooth, the ability to. I mean, it's just crazy, right?
I remember sitting there watching Shannon with 6 CDs out on top of the stereo next to her in RPM. And they might do 2 from that one, and then you'd swap over, and it was, oh shit, I dropped it on the ground, I have to get off the bike and pick it up. Oh, it's got sweat on it, got to wipe with a towel, and God, hasn't it come a long way?
You'd burn a CD, right? You'd burn this, you'd copy it so that you could have 2 or 3 of this. Yeah, I totally, those were the days, guys. Yeah. Now you just bloody put it on Spotify or, you know, if you don't.
The Les Mills app, download it. Yeah, away you go, bang. There was something I read the other day. Someone was having issues and it was pissing someone off. And they were like, underneath, we just need to go back to CDs. I was like, I don't think that any fitness center that I've been in the last 7 years still has a CD player. Like, my car doesn't have a CD player.
Or the worst thing was if it bumped, it skipped.
You
know, you're like, you stuck mid-ear.
Just okay in attack, and no, we're doing another 17 near repeaters. It's okay.
Totally.
Let's.
You have those. Mind you, in today's world, it was funny. I was teaching an RPM class, and then the virtual screen just came down in front of me.
They were trying to tell you something.
So now we have different issues, right? And I'm like, and anyway, guys.
Yeah.
And then in some virtual scenes, you can't turn it off. Like, there's no way
it just does it. Oh.
No, especially if you've got those big. Anyway. Yeah. And so oh well, stuff it. You guys just do virtual. No.
All right, I'm out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cold. So what are you doing these days? You alluded to before you're doing something for government. Can you? I suppose I should ask you. Are you allowed to talk about it?
Yeah. Definitely. I'm definitely not. That's
not high up. Not that high up. Oh, Tone, I can't talk about that.
I have
please.
class, whatever it is,
classified.
Security clearance.
Well, they did ring me before this and say, Tone, it's okay. You can. Oh, they were talking to me in their watch for some reason.
Yeah, they were like, hey, Thomas Savelio, watch out.
Tony, she's coming on the mic now. Go.
Please edit everything.
All we're going to hear is beep.
And stop the recording. And so what I'm doing, beep.
I love it.
Anyway, I'll stop laughing and giggling like a clown and make some sense.
Okay.
Because I'm a grown girl now. So I'm a grown up.
You're still a girl though. That's the thing. I'm a grown up girl.
Yeah, totally. I'm a grown up girl.
Oh man, you're a cracker. I love it. Seriously.
So
Brilliant.
seriously, long story short. So essentially, what happened was, I decided I finished my MBA. I did my master's in business, and then I decided during that period, like I knew I wanted to really sit down and think about what I love. Life's too short to do things you don't love, right? Yep. And I was club manager of Les Mills Hut City at the time, and I absolutely loved that job. I'm not, while I was there, but I knew that I was coming to a point where I needed more. A couple of things happened in life, and some opportunities presented themselves, and I sat down and said, okay, what are the things that I absolutely love doing? I love teaching, I love coaching, I love facilitating. Those are the 3 things I love beyond reason. And so I thought to myself, I need to go into business for myself. My husband and I already had an artificial turf business, and that was going fine. And so I had the luxury of being able to probably take, a bit of time to build a business.
Yep.
So I decided to do that, and then I handed my notice and I left the employment realm. And wait for it, the 6th of January 2020.
Oh, wow.
One.
Yeah.
Yeah, just, I don't know, a month and a half shy of COVID.
Yep.
And so I started this new business called B Suite. And it was called B Suites because it was a suite of training programs, and I was going to create some products
Yep.
and blah blah blah, and the rest is history. Anyway, and then COVID hit, and I'd also brought into a business coaching franchise. So I love business. I know this sounds really crazy. And please don't get me wrong, I don't love business because I love making money. I just love thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like I'm an academic in
Yep.
this space, and
Yep.
I say that really loosely. When I say I'm an academic, I'm a bit of a geek. Like I said to my mum during lockdown, I said, "Mum, I know what I want to do with my life." And she goes, "Well, that's good because you're 45 or 44 or something." I said, she goes,
Yeah. When I grow up.
yeah. And she goes, "Well, what do you want to do?" I said, "I just want to think about things."
Yep.
And she goes,
Oh, I
she
love
goes,
that.
"What is wrong with you?"
I had a good
Anyway.
6 years of my life where that was due to substances, but that was I just want to think about things.
I just want to think about things. Anyway, so long story short, that happened. I kind of went, holy shit, the business that I had decided to get into will not work in this space at all. Not with COVID,
Yeah.
because it was high level. It was a premium product,
Yep.
premium prices, and businesses were freaking.
Yeah. Yep.
So anyway, long story short, I completely pivoted, and that's how B Suite came about. And I never worked so hard during lockdown. I remember looking up to because my husband's business wasn't making money straight away. I
Yeah.
just quit my security
So,
job,
yeah.
and I was starting a business, and nothing was. It was I'd
Perfect
never in
timing.
my life been
Yeah.
so. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Anyway, long story short, we made it work. God knows how,
Yep.
but we did, and B Suite got off the ground, and then it was probably about a year in. I had invested in another business that didn't work. It was with something a little bit different, and we had the space, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to put a gym in there. I know how to run gyms. I've been running gyms, so I just started buying equipment.
Yep.
So my husband didn't know about it. He's like, "Why is all this gym equipment getting dumped around?"
Oh yeah, someone just dropped it off. I thought, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, "I'm going to open a gym." He goes, "Oh, don't be stupid." And I went, "Oh, I'm gonna do it." I
Yeah.
wasn't asking permission.
Yeah. It's
So
just gonna happen.
so yeah, it's gonna happen. And we've now that gym's been open for, it's literally the tiniest little gym in the world. We do boutique stuff,
Yep.
and we do more personal training and
Whereabouts are you based? Where's your gym at?
Stokes Valley in Wellington.
Okay. And
So
what is it
it's
called?
literally it's called B Suite Fitness.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, so and now it's been open for 12 months.
Yep.
It's a low cost, no, actually, it's the right price in the market. I didn't want to do what I've done for 100 years, which is have to
Yeah.
sell
Yeah.
memberships just to
Yeah.
make ends meet. I
Yeah.
just wanted an easy, right price, right
Yep.
market, did my homework. And we haven't really had to advertise, so which has
Awesome.
been great. So yeah, it's been really cool. It's just a
Congratulations.
nice.
That's good.
Yeah, thank you. So that happens, and I have a beautiful team that runs that place. I just swan in, do
Yep.
do yoga, and then I swan out. And I love the members, and as that's what I love to do. And somebody else worries about the money or looks after the money because if it was up to me, I'd be like, oh, don't worry, but
Yep.
Mid, I haven't paid you this week. Oh, that's okay.
Don't worry about it.
Just
Yeah.
make sure you keep coming, whānau. You know, I'm never gonna be rich, air whore. Air whore is friend in Māori, just
Okay.
in case you thought I was calling you a whore.
You're just calling me a what? Yeah, I'm not going to be
Did she
rich,
just
you
call me a
whore.
whore? So air whore in Māori is friend. I'm so sorry.
No, that's brilliant. That's
Yeah,
brilliant.
that's it. What?
I would have thought about it
Anyway.
afterwards and said to my wife, she called me a whore. Thank you for the explanation. That's brilliant. This is the Group X podcast.
Anyway, long story short, during that period where we were getting the gym up and running, and I was still doing coaching and facilitating. I was coaching businesses. We did some marketing for small to medium businesses. I facilitated for a couple of different companies. So
Yep.
I still am for the Rebel Business School. They've got a 2-week business course, which is amazing. Takes people from zero to hero. And actually next week doing a bit of facilitation work for Victoria University
Brilliant.
around, actually, funnily enough, cultural not so much cultural appropriation, but cultural empathy and
Yep.
the ability to use that in an organisation to go to have a global footprint. Um, so
That's
I
cool.
do that sort of stuff,
Yep.
and then what ended up happening is a woman, you know what, an RPM class and a lady, and so I remember she came out, she saw my car because it was all sign written. She goes, "What are you doing now?" And she said, "Are you not running the club?" I said, "Oh no, I'm running my own business now. I do facilitating, coaching, learning development. I love all that stuff."
Yep.
And she goes, "Oh my goodness, we need to talk." And so that's how that started. And then, and actually, funnily enough, I didn't. So it was a contract, not an employment role. It was a
Yep.
contract
Yep.
for government, and it actually came up, and I didn't get it firstly. And I remember at the time when I didn't get it, I thought that's okay.
Yep.
It's just not meant to be.
Yeah.
And they decided on going with an internal appointment, and that was fine. And then February this year, they came back and said, "Look, are you still interested in that role?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely." So essentially, my role is I'm called the Māori Learning Lead,
Yep.
and my job is to create or support the learning pathways for Te Ao Māori across all of MB, which MB is the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, and it's the largest government agency
Okay.
in New Zealand.
Yep.
So for example, there's nine business groups that I essentially am creating some stuff. I'm not creating it. I am supporting it.
Facilitate.
Project
Yeah.
management is probably
Yeah.
the best way to describe it.
Yep. Yep.
Um, and let's just say of those nine entities, one of them just happens to be immigration,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So it's kind of that
Yep.
scale,
Yep.
and it's the first time I've been in government. So
Brilliant.
as an employee,
Yeah.
well, actually, even though I'm a contractor, as a
Yeah.
person who
Yeah.
works in there,
Yep.
and wow, coming from the private sector into the
Yeah.
public sector
Yep.
has been really fascinating for me.
Yep.
So, so that contract plays out until next year, and depending on how that project goes, at the moment it's going really well, and I'm loving it, and I feel like I'm absolutely where I'm meant to be. And yeah, and then next year I'm going to do my doctorate.
So you say that again?
Yes, I'm going to do my doctorate. So I'm going to do my doctorate um, in Māori Māori economic and social development.
As in go and study and go and do all the. Wow. Good on you.
Yeah, yeah. So I just it's my worlds are coming
Yeah.
together and it's aligning, and I'm a big believer that everything aligns within, and you end up where you're meant to be.
Yeah.
And I'm still teaching Les Mills. I'm doing the stuff I love, which
Yep.
is I'm teaching the classes. I'm doing some modules from time to time. I'm doing some facilitation work for them, and then I'm doing facilitation work over here. And then next year I'll start my doctorate.
Oh, mate,
Yeah.
that's exciting. Well done, and I'm
Yeah, no, I'm
that's
really
brilliant to
excited about
hear.
it. Well, actually, to be fair, I just want to be called Dr. Mid.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I'm going to
Just got a
remember that
really
one.
good.
Yeah, Dr.
Yeah,
Mid. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Forget Dr. Libby or whatever her name is.
Yeah, Dr.
Nah.
Mid. Yeah, it's like watch out, step aside. Yeah, here comes Dr. Mid.
Yeah, nothing to do with the fitness industry at all.
No.
But still, yeah, totally. So unhelpful in that space.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so that's my world at the moment. And of course, my children are grown now. They're 22.
Yep.
And although whilst Menor's shifted to Auckland, he's living his best life, I've tied up his twin sister upstairs.
Yep.
She's never allowed to leave.
She's not allowed to go.
No.
There's a lock on the door.
Yeah, his twin sister is actually my best friend. So she doesn't know that. I keep on saying to her, "Oh my gosh, we're going to go to Bali and you and me are going to be best friends." And she's like, "You're not my best friend, Mum."
Yeah, no,
I'm
Mum.
like,
No.
I know, but I feel like I am.
Yeah.
I feel I'm pretty confident I'm your best friend.
No, but because when her best friend comes over, she's like, no, you're not her best friend. I'm her best friend. Like you were saying earlier on.
Totally.
Yeah. Oh man, you're brilliant. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. That's fantastic.
Oh,
Hey, you mentioned something before, and I'm gonna throw this at you and see how you
Yeah,
respond.
go for gold.
You said you didn't know how your business really survived in 2020.
Oh, yeah, man. Holy shit.
You know how it survived?
Look, to be fair, the biggest thing that we did really, really well is probably similar to what you did, which is we gave wholeheartedly to others,
Yep.
and in return, we were given back. So if I look at it from a wairua or a spiritual space,
Yeah.
during lockdown, similar to you, I think I actually put out there any business who is struggling in the fitness industry, if you want some business coaching, come and see me. I've got my masters. I've run businesses since I was in my 20s, and I've been a shareholder of a gym.
Yeah.
I've been an owner of business. I've run Les Mills clubs. I've got a whole bunch of stuff that you just acquire, right? When you're a
Yep.
general manager, you kind of,
You've got a skill set. Yeah, there's a basket there. You just grab what you need to when you need to, and
yeah. 99.9% of the time, you might be driven by your heart and what you love, but you're still going to make sure that somebody pays you.
Yeah, yes, yes, money does help. Yes,
that's really important. So, so I think there was partly. I did a lot of work for other people for free. My husband actually said to me, he goes, "I've never known anybody to work so hard for nothing."
Yep.
And I just said, "Look, I promise you it'll pay off in the end."
Yeah.
Well, actually, I didn't really care what he thought. No, I'm kidding. I was like, okay.
I'm going to reach out to him and make sure he listens to this,
I really hope he doesn't. He won't care. It's nothing I would say to his face, which is great.
I love it. What I was actually going to get at, though, is that I believe that your ancestors have looked after you. You mentioned that strong connection you've got earlier on, and I honestly believe in that. Whatever that is, I can't find the right terminology for that most of the time, but the higher presence or whatever it may be, and you have that connection with, as you said, that when you were going on stage to teach before filming, there's something there. If you were meant to succeed for a reason, and you did. Yeah, they're there to watch. Yeah. They guide you. We in this life, in this world, whatever it is, it's already set out for us. If you're going to fail, you're going to fail. You haven't got control over it. You've got control to a certain degree on how you react to what's happening, but it's set for you, and they were there.
And I think that because I always think to myself, whenever I'm scared, it's something I have to do.
Yep.
And because often it's the things that we don't like doing that we need to do that grow us. And that's part of the reason why people actually fail all the time, because they don't do the things that are scary, and when you do the things that scare you, you step into, you go, oh, look, there's my resilience growing, all the rest of it. And I do wholeheartedly believe that my life is, as soon as I started to listen to what my heart truly wanted, to fulfill my potential and to deliver to the world whatever the world needed based on the gifts, because I think we're all given gifts to give to the world. I think we are, in Māori, we call it kaitiakitanga, like we're guardians during our period here, and we all have these wonderful skills that that we can exercise in our life. And I think if we focus on money and achieving financial stuff, and please don't get me wrong, I'm not saying don't be financially, don't overspend. I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is, if that's what drives you, that's absolutely okay. The question I always ask is, are you living the life you want? And I honestly believe that I am. I'm living the life I want. I'm probably living it too much, to be honest, and I need to take a break, because I think my ancestors are saying, you need to slow down. Whore isn't friend, okay? I am also not a whore. Well, it's also debatable. Depends on how you define it, right? But I am a friend. I am a friend.
You've given me so many sound bites that I can use to advertise this episode. It's fantastic. Fantastic. I love it.
Oh, shivers. I don't know if I should. This is the reason why I can never run for Parliament.
Actually, that's the reason you should run for Parliament, to make a bloody change and make a difference and make people chill.
Oh my gosh, she talked about thrush. How can we trust her?
Oh, I love it. I can't wait to get this out and have feedback from people. Tony, do you realise that your guest? Yes, I know. I 100% know. I was there. Yeah.
And I'm actually quite proud of myself. I haven't used any swear words.
Oh, well done.
Really appropriate. Yeah. So that's me again, growing up as a middle-aged woman who still thinks she's a child some of the time.
Oh, I love it. This is the Group X podcast. What does the future hold for you?
Cool. Great question. I think I probably alluded to that. The future for my where I see myself is continuing my study around getting my doctorate, and but at the same time I'll probably still be doing the mahi that I'm doing,
Yep.
which mahi is work in Te Reo, and still teaching Les Mills.
Yep.
I believe that I will land wherever I'm meant to land off the
Yeah.
back of that doctorate, doing whatever
I love that.
work. But what I do know is the work will be fully meaningful to me,
Yep.
and it will matter, um, and and I know it will be impactful for those
You've
because
worked.
my
You've worked out what you want to do when you grow up. I love that.
yeah, totally. Well, I just love people and I care.
Yeah.
I genuinely care about our world.
Yep.
I think we have a responsibility to leave this planet better than when we arrived in it, and I don't know that we've always done that as humans. So one day I'm going to be 6 foot under, and that's okay. I
Yeah.
just hope I have done what I was meant to do in this lifetime and navigated being a human and doing some dumb shit along the way.
Yeah. High
So,
five. High five me on that one. Would you high five me on that one? Let's go. First your high five.
we've all got to do some dumb shit. Oh,
Yes.
okay. I did say swear word. Ego.
Oh, you said shit.
Um,
Oh well.
Oh well. Beep. Maybe do you have to edit this? Oh,
Tough. Edit. I'm just going to hit record and then just upload. That's done. No. The last question I want to throw at you is: what bit of advice can you give to instructors that might be listening who want to improve what they're doing?
okay, great. Know what your strengths are.
Ooh.
Know what your strengths are.
Yeah.
Number one, you've got to know what you're good at, because when you master what you're good at, then you can work on the things that you need to develop. But what I always see is people try and do things that they're not, and they waste all this energy and time. Whereas if you develop your strengths, if you are an athlete, then be the best athlete. If you're a great coach, then be the best coach. If you're a performer, then be the best performer. Do the basics.
Yep.
Make sure that's why Les Mills has initial training, and you only have to do the basics. You have to be safe and effective. You have to know your choreography. You have to coach level 1 and a little bit of level 2.
Yep.
Right? The connection piece and the performance is as you grow and develop. However, I wouldn't say that as an instructor, following that process for everyone is awesome, because some people are natural connectors.
Yep.
And they have to learn how to say the right words first.
Yep.
And so if you try and make them say the right words, they're going to fail for a very long time as a baby instructor. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yep. Yep.
So know your strengths, live in your strengths, be the master of your strengths, and then evolve into the other areas when you know you couldn't be any better at those strengths. So my strength was always in connection and performance. It wasn't in coaching. And so my classes were packed because I just lived in my strength.
Yeah.
Right? But could you put on a filming class? Probably not.
Well, yeah.
But that's what made my classes me, because
Yeah.
the other piece to it as well, second piece of advice, this is the last bit, otherwise I could talk for Africa about this. As an instructor, you're given a script, but you're the magic in it.
Yep.
You're the brand. You are the connection to Les Mills, and every single instructor is different. So bring you.
Yeah.
You don't have to be you don't have to be the Karans. You don't have to
Yep.
be the Erins. You don't have to be, those guys are role models to show you how to do the
How to do it,
basics right.
yeah.
But you are you.
Yeah.
So know your strengths and be you.
Yep.
2 top tips for instructors.
Love it. Love it.
Man.
Mid, thank
Love
you.
you.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you so much for sharing your story, your life, and everything you've done and are doing with me and with our listeners. I've greatly had a massive giggle, a massive laugh, a belly laugh too, not just a little hee hee hee, but a proper full-on, full-blown.
Oh, yep.
No, not a hee hee hee. She called me a whore. What? I've absolutely loved it. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on and sharing you. Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, look, it's been great being here. Much love to you, and go forth and continue to be amazing. And thank you for encouraging me to make more jokes.